Bueno, muy buenos días aquí en Latinoamérica, buenas tardes en Israel. Mi nombre es Ariel Bacal, soy el Domain Expert en Retail de Latinoamérica de OneBit y bienvenidos a este podcast. Este podcast es súper interesante. En podcast/webinar es una conversación abierta con un grupo de gente que nos va a enriquecer mucho porque tenemos la parte de producto tenemos la parte de la conexión entre producto y cliente que es CSM. Por producto tenemos a Brumi Schreiber. Él es el vicepresidente de producto de OneBit. Brumi tiene una experiencia muy interesante en desarrollando todos los aplicativos de inteligencia artificial para retail en OneBit. Y tenemos dos personas súper importantes en el mundo de OneBit en Latinoamérica y en el mundo, pero especialmente en Latinoamérica. Primero las damas, Juliana Mejía, directa desde Medellín, la directora de CSM, Customer Success Management para Latinoamérica. Bienvenida Juliana, welcome a Brumi. Y Mariano Auludnicer de Uruguay, ahora en Israel. Argentina, Uruguay, Mariano.
Argentina.
Perdón. De Argentina, desde Israel, y él es el jefe de Customer Success Management para OneBit a nivel global. O sea que tenemos, como les dije, una conexión interesantísima entre producto y la conexión entre producto y cliente, que es CSM, que es, si me preguntan a mí, la pieza más importante en cualquier organización de software y de SaaS. Vamos a hablar sobre los KPIs más importantes, los indicadores más importantes en retail. Vamos a hablar sobre AI y en general sobre la gestión inteligente de inventarios. ¿Ok? Entonces, me gustaría abrir un poquito las preguntas. Si quieres,
Parece, empiezo yo. Tengo algunas preguntas que ya algunos clientes siempre me
fantástico.
preguntan. Entonces yo digo, bueno, hablamos con esa. Básicamente lo que me gustaría traer al foro es, muchos de los clientes vienen como muy dudosos. Han estado haciendo exitosamente operaciones por muchos años. Muchos de nuestros clientes son empresas que están hace decenas de años y de golpe llegamos nosotros con nuestra tecnología, con AI, con todos los datos. Y ellos ya tienen su forma de practicar, su forma de hacer las cosas. Entonces me gustaría que si algo se pueden llevar de este webinar y de esta charla tan interesante es entender por qué. ¿Por qué deberían usar AI? ¿Por qué deberían usar OneBit? ¿Cómo los vamos a ayudar a trabajar mejor?
Okay. Abrumi, the first question is, why after any retailer, after many decades of successful business experience, why they should embark in AI as a general rule?
Hi guys, thanks. Um, I think this is a great question because it's not about them, it's about the world, the change. And I want to share a few slides to explain what I just dropped in here into the phone. When you look on what actually happened in the last years in the world since COVID and with the huge technological jump that we saw, what happened that speed became the main issue. We saw it with e-commerce that boomed completely before COVID and for sure much after, when people are used to go over hundreds of different options to click to change places. If they don't find something here, they just move it down the website. And this same phenomena is now also in the physical world. And we see it. People are looking for much more hyper personalized options. They want to have what they want now, and they have less tolerance of missing items or missing sizes for what they are looking for. And it means that what we call the old playbook of long-term planning and trying to really forecast demand that is constantly changing, because every day we have different ad in social network and we see something else on TV or even on the bus in the way to work, our expectations are changing really fast. So I think in today's world, and specifically in retail world, we can see that the main issue comes from real-time execution. I think the main idea is insight to execution, speed. It's not only about having, let's say, the proper purchase or the proper planning, but it's how we can execute it to the right places in the right time as fast as possible. And of course, do it in the most granular level. Now, beforehand, it was impossible, because how you can actually manage so many options, so many SKUs in so many locations, and do it every day, trying to really find, the insight, okay, I need here 1 more unit or 2 more units, and actually execute it the day after. Now, I think what AI brings to the world is the ability to use what we call flow-first inventory management, an agile inventory management that doesn't only lay on what was planned, but is able to really, really fast react and create this insight to execution flow in 2-3 days. Okay, meaning that we can really support the customers' needs. Now, when we talk about this new paradigm shift, right? Because we're saying from static forecast, we want to go to speed of reaction, right? We want to make sure that whenever we find something, we can react to, and we go and make our business better by reacting faster. So we also have to change the KPIs that we are looking at, and in order to really adjust our business to this new world. So it's not only now about, for example, the store coverage. That for sure we want to have enough inventory in each store to support, let's say, 1 month of sales, because we want to make sure that when customer comes to the store, he finds what he wants. But looking on the bigger picture, we understand that this specific store coverage doesn't tell the full story, because maybe I have enough inventory in this store, but maybe 2 blocks from there in another store, I will be completely running out of the same product. So looking on the isolated items won't give me the full picture and will maintain the flow. Again, the whole new idea is the ability for the retailer to react faster, not better plan from the basics, but to be more agile to what currently is going, because life are crazy and they change all the time, and it's really, really hard to predict. So we want to gain a more holistic view and to focus on the ability of the organization to react. Now, it's about looking on system-wide KPIs and also in the right context. So, for example, instead of focusing on your store coverage, we can look on the warehouse coverage and the warehouse availability. Why? Because the warehouse, and as much as inventory we're gonna keep there, will enable the organization to react faster. It's much easier to send stuff from the warehouse. If we will run out of the inventory too soon, and we'll only rely on moving between stores, which is also a possibility, we will decrease the speed of reaction of the organization. So stuff like warehouse availability or potential availability, how much I can redistribute in order to increase my availability. So you're not looking on the single and isolated metric for specific store. You're looking on the flow of the organization and how eventually you react faster and give you more abilities to react in the future. Okay, this is the all paradigm shifts. It's just that simple thing. As much as we can increase the reaction speed, we will be more successful. And the AI has the main role in it, in the way that it enables us to spot these insights across millions of different options, and also to automate the reaction in a way that, based on our current logistics, we can just streamline it in a much better way. Now, the idea of context we just discussed is exactly that, because if we're looking on speed of reaction and we understand it's all based on the flow of the organization, we really need a streamlined view or a holistic view that will enable us to easily spot where the constraint is, where the gap is, that if we will solve that, the flow will proceed. Okay, so for example, if we'll see a stockout rate of 20%, why? right? Everyone will be in panic because we don't want to have a high stock up rates. But we really need to understand where it comes from, looking on the entire organization. Is it due to slow replenishment? And it takes us more time than we should to initiate the replenishment itself. Is it because of misallocation to begin with and lack of warehouse availability? Or is it just supplier issues that prevent us from even having it in the warehouse? Okay, and the idea is to look on all of them together. Now, this is why we just built our new executive dashboard and some other dashboard that I'm going to show you, trying to give one holistic view and the ability to drill down after we find something that we want to focus on, again, just to keep on the flow. Any questions?
Me gustaría agregar, porque está muy interesante lo que dice Aurumi. AI no es solamente una herramienta, sino un cambio de paradigma. Y eso es lo interesante. Lo que me gustaría resumir de lo que está diciendo Aurumi es eso. O sea, nosotros lo que estamos trayendo no es una herramienta, y puede ser que mucha gente hable de AI como una herramienta. Nosotros vemos AI como un cambio de paradigma. De ver la organización como una organización estática, en donde hacemos estadística descriptiva, y en donde nos basamos en lo que se llama en inglés rule of thumb. O sea, por dar un ejemplo, en calzado la curva tiene que ser 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Y nos mudamos a una organización dinámica en donde lo que hacemos es no basarnos en reglas que en teoría nos sirvieron en el pasado, sino, como muy bien lo dijo Aurumi, nos basamos en la velocidad que tenemos de reacción. Entonces, ¿por qué AI? Porque AI nos permite a los retailers analizar nuestra data continuamente con Machine Learning y hacer proyecciones y decisiones basadas en la data de hoy, no en las ideas que yo tengo de mi negocio de hace 10 años. Entonces, si fuéramos a traer una idea específica de lo que dice Brumi, que es fantástico, es inteligencia artificial, usted se puede ver como una herramienta o como un cambio de paradigma. La gente que realmente va a tener éxito es la gente que usa inteligencia artificial como cambio de paradigma en su negocio y la obligue a ver su negocio como organización dinámica basada en ejecución rápida y no como organización estática basada en reglas de negocio rígidas. So yes, maybe you can share the executive.
Yes. So now putting, these big words into more practice and how we suggest and we believe are the best practice of actually, handling KPIs. Now, as always, we want to start with the bottom line. Why? Because this is what actually moving the needle when we are looking, let's say, in the end of the quarter, the end of the year, and we want to make sure that we earn more and we get more sales, and we have less cost, right? Because we want to increase our margin. Now, we will always start with the financials, as this are what we promise to our board, what eventually will determine the growth of the company. But we can't just focus, on okay, we increased our sales and we decreased our cost. We need to try now to explain why, and again, the holistic view to understand where this growth comes from. So after looking on the financials, we can look on the efficiency. We use for efficiency both inventory turns and sell-through to understand how much inventory from what we planned and bought we actually sold. Again, it's about the speed of the operation, how many times I can turn on my inventory. Why? Because I want to make sure that when customers comes back to the stores, not only they will find what they wanted, but also will have a reason to come back. So if I can have less inventory in stores, but make sure that it won't harm my availability and will create 4 million of sales, I want to be able to sell it faster. Okay, so I want to have less inventory, but more accurate inventory in order to both have enough availability, but also to complete the cycle faster. So looking on efficiency, again, isolating, it's not enough because I need to understand where this speed or efficiency comes from. And here, and if we want to focus eventually on the main day-to-day or weekly KPIs we can track, is the operational one. Again, because if we're looking on flow, it always comes back to the operation, right? because inventory turns and sales through could be related to also how much I plan and bought. But the efficiency of my day-to-day is what really matters. Now, again, looking on availability, as we discussed before, I don't only care about the entire availability. I could say, yes, I want to achieve 100% availability. But for some SKUs, which sells once in a month and costs me, and their price is, let's say, $1, maybe it's not so important. And you can't really compare it to lack of availability of my key product that is my number one seller. So not only looking on availability, but comparing it to lost sales. Okay, this is a metric that try to normalize and to capture the actual risk of losing availability. Lost sales is basically how much money you lose due to the lack of availability, and it takes every stock out product, understanding speed of sales, its sales rate, and its revenue potential, and give you a normalized, more sophisticated metric to actually assess if this is an availability issue or not. Again, we are not looking, if we used to look on specific static parameters and looking, okay, I have a huge availability issue in this store. But if it didn't change nothing for the sales rate and for my eventually net sales, I don't really care about it. It's more important to have the right products in the right places available, but you don't really need to care about all products. Now, this is exactly how what you can see in the two bottom KPIs that calculates how many units on average you have per each SKU location. Now, just to follow what I said, right? You want to make sure you have less units per each SKU location because you want to keep more in the warehouse, you want to be able to react faster, and maybe also consider space, because as lower this number will be, you'll have chance to increase your assortment. And we just discussed before what changed in the world, right? People are less tolerant. They want many options. They saw something, they want something similar. You want to have more options in the store, and you can get it by having less units per item. Now, again, you need to keep your availability. You want to make sure you have enough inventory to support sales, but only ones that actually generate the sale. So it's all a holistic view and a game, right, between all these different KPIs and what we call the retail brands of availability, assortment, and freshness that now with AI you can really keep up on. Because now you can really look on your entire population, make sure you keep less inventory per each SKU location and have more options to play with, while eventually increasing your efficiency and affecting your bottom line. So this is the idea of this dashboard and the holistic view that you can get, and then you can drill down to other places, which I will show you later.
Ariel, disculpa, me parece increíble tener en un solo lugar la visibilidad de un conjunto de indicadores que son claves para el negocio, para ese proceso de toma de decisiones. Pero me gustaría extenderle una pregunta a Brumi, porque puede ser incluso abrumador ver tanta información en un solo lugar. ¿Cuáles pudieran ser esos 4 indicadores en los que Brumi, con todo su conocimiento de producto y de negocio, pudiera darnos la recomendación para concentrar nuestra atención en este 2025?
Okay. Abrumi, the dashboard looks fantastic, but if you want to scroll down to the 4 most important KPIs that each retailer have to look in this 2025, which one you will select and why?
Okay, so I think the right KPIs sometimes change according to the use case and the current issue of the organization. I think always, the high-level KPIs are the ones that the board will look at. So eventually you need to also address them. But you know me already, I guess, and you know that I'm looking on the day-to-day operation. And I think those metrics that we just discussed are the symbol. But I want to show you how from understanding, okay, I have an availability issue, or I want to have less lost sales that are actually impacting my performance. We can then drill down to understand the specific issues that's causing each of them. And for example, in our purchase fulfillment, I don't go now over all the stuff, but I think we can first understand where maybe an issue comes from. So we are looking at our current availability, for example. We saw it's not bad, 24%. But now let's look on the flow availability, right? What is the availability for stuff that are depleted in the warehouse? Because if I have availability in the warehouse, okay, I can fix it, right? If my operation works. But I might have a big issue with stuff that currently can't be fulfilled from the warehouse. So given these two looks will give you a clearer look on your availability. And to your question, Julian, I think focusing is always understanding what is the availability that you can fix based on your current warehouse, and what is the availability that actually at risk because you are lacking it in the warehouse. But it doesn't mean you can do nothing. For that, you can see how much availability you can increase, okay, by redistributing overstock from other places. Okay, it's the potential availability for your depleted warehouse if you will better utilize other places that have too much inventory in. So it's again about keeping the flow as a system. And the same for the warehouse coverage that you can increase by pulling them back to the warehouse. The idea, remember, when you look for 4 KPIs, I would say those are the actual day-to-day KPIs you can look at. Because if you're looking on the flow and speed of reaction, try always to maintain more in the warehouse, less in the stores. And here you can see that you are progressing or you're having more and more opportunity to increase your availability by fixing what currently harms it in its warehouse availability.
Let me ask you something, Abrumi. So if we see these four numbers, 84, 671, 82, and 6.9.
Yes.
So how I understand them is that your current availability is 84, but if you distribute and do the in-store transfer, you can, I mean, you couldn't 84, but with the depleted warehouse is 71, es decir, tu disponibilidad es 84, pero realmente si cuentas lo que no tienes en el warehouse es 71. If you move everything from one store to another, you will get to 82. That's the way we read it. Entonces, interesante esto para que lo analicemos. Aquí hay 4 KPIs súper interesantes. Uno es, te estás diciendo que tu disponibilidad de producto es 84.2, pero el producto puede estar en las tiendas o en el warehouse. Y la diferencia entre que esté en las tiendas y en el warehouse es muy grande, porque es mucho más fácil mandar desde la bodega a las tiendas que hacer transferencias entre tiendas. Transferencias entre tiendas hay que hacerlas, pero primero hay que ver qué tenemos en la bodega, en el warehouse. Entonces, lo que te dice el sistema es que tu disponibilidad se mejora sustancialmente después de 71 a 82 si haces las distribuciones como tienes que hacerlas entre las tiendas, y eso te daría una baja en los sales, la venta perdida que vimos en el cuadro anterior. Lo que nos explica Brumi es que tenemos que ver la operación y todos los KPIs, cómo uno influye en el otro y cuál es mi potencial de mejora si ejecuto en este caso las distribuciones entre tiendas y puedo aumentar de 71 a 82 en este caso. Súper interesante. Muy bien.
I think, by the way, what you just mentioned, the store transfer, I guess Mariano and Juliana can know it from their own experience. We saw the highest potential sometimes there, and just the hands. You have 100 stores, okay? You have million SKUs. Start now to find which are the most cost-effective trips in order to, increase this availability. You might have many stock in some place and none in others, but you have too many, so you drown. Now, what is the role of AI? And you can't do it before, like 5 years ago, you actually can't do it. Excel won't handle this size of SKUs, and we deal like with millions. And the logic is very, very complicated. How you will find what is best to move it from A to B, from A to C, or from A to Z, and vice versa. Maybe I already have trips. So this very, very complicated issue that now AI can handle us is just money on the flow, and we see it. Like flow is stuck because you have like sometimes we see like 17 units in a store that sells, I don't know, 1 unit every 3 to 4 weeks. And in other store that sell almost every day a unit from this product has 1 or none. And we see like just how when you find the right places to move it, using the AI, you can dramatically increase your not only availability, but again, when you remove it from here and move it to where it actually sells, you have more place to bring new stuff to the not donating store. You're not just drying them out. You're just keeping, again, the movement of the inventory. So it's only where it needs to be sold, and you maximize what you saw before, your sales through, and eventually your bottom lines, your margin.
A mí me gustaría sumar a lo que dice Abrumi, traer un poco la voz de los clientes y decir, si se acuerdan al principio, cuando empezamos esta charla, mi primer pregunta fue, bueno, la gente viene trabajando hace mucho de una determinada manera y les cuesta hacer este cambio. Y yo creo que uno de los secretos, no sé, Juliana, si tú quieres agregar, es de a poco que vayan probando, pero una vez que empiezan a probar y empiezan a tener esas quick wins, se empiezan a sentir más seguros y empiezan a ver de que la tecnología trabaja para ellos, de que si antes les tomaba todo el día o más de un día hacer el cálculo de una vez cada mucho, un store transfer, una transferencia entre tiendas, ahora pueden llegar a la mañana a la oficina y mirar exactamente todos los cálculos que ya se hicieron para ellos. Entonces el sistema les trae rapidez, se los pone listos todos los días y les da mucha visibilidad, porque en el sistema también pueden ver lo que movieron, qué tan rápido se vendió, por ejemplo. Y esa visibilidad los hace sentir más seguros y les hace animarse a dar más pasos, porque son pasos difíciles, como decía. Hace mucho que hacen algo y hay que animarse, pero el sistema de a poco los va llevando a que se sientan seguros y a pasos firmes.
Exacto.
De hecho, Mariano, si me permites, estoy completamente alineada contigo. Muchas de las percepciones o de las reacciones que recibimos es de incredulidad. ¿Es en serio que es tan maravilloso? En vez de tomarme, no sé, cerca de 3 o 4 semanas analizando el 100% de mi portafolio, es verdad que voy a llegar a primera hora en la mañana y a través de un clic voy a obtener todas las recomendaciones que necesito para balancear de forma correcta mi inventario. Y yo creo que precisamente la clave es arriesgarse a vivir la experiencia y, como tú dices, poco a poco. Porque si uno realmente aborda el proceso con apertura, va a ver que efectivamente la inteligencia artificial, como lo que nosotros estamos viendo con este buen contexto y detalle que nos está presentando Abrumi, tiene demasiadas bondades donde nosotros podemos hacer ya realidad ese sueño de analizar el portafolio a través de un clic.
Very interesting. Abrumi, I'm going to switch gears a little bit in broad question. Voy a preguntar qué falló. Si generalmente, a mí me gusta siempre decir que siempre las empresas que retail que tienen un problema financiero es al final un problema de rotación de inventarios. ¿Cómo lo ves tú? ¿Cómo puede la empresa mirar su salud financiera a través del dashboard que tenemos in big markets? So, what I always like to remind the clients and people in retail that it's behind every retail bankruptcy, it's a not very efficient inventory management system because inventory is cash at the end of the day. So if you were the CFO of a retail company, si fueras el CFO de una empresa retail, ¿qué estarías viendo en el dashboard todos los días para estar seguro de la salud financiera de tu empresa? What is the KPIs, the KPIs, but how do you analyze the KPIs financially to be sure that the operation is running financially in a very sustainable way?
So I think we used to heard, and lots of the finance part was about open to buy, right? We know these terms and keeping some kind of a budget in place. But I have to say, it's all part, again, from the old mindset of let's plan better and suddenly things will happen better. But we see in reality, and we see it over like hundreds of examples, it eventually comes back to the operation. So also for the CFO, right, the financial side, financial side of things, it's quite obvious, right? We saw it before. We want to eventually increase the sales, decrease the cost. This is the finance 101, right? We want to increase margin. But it's always important to ask ourselves where the issues or the growth are coming from. And it goes back to the operational side of things. As you mentioned, inventory is cash. Everything in the finance of the organization is go back to cash. And as you can buy less, right? Because now we want to keep less inventory per SKU location, right? We want to increase our sales through. Both can be started by buying less. If you know better how much you're going to use, because you don't send everything in the beginning of the season. You let reality dictate how your operation is going to look like. Okay. And you can invest less money to reduce inventory costs and sell more because you'll have the right things in the right places. For example, we can look on availability report. Okay. We can see for each location how much availability it has, how much the loss save, right? Loss save is the financial metric that eventually going to harm your bottom line revenue, right? It's not talking about customer satisfaction and so on. And you can see how much availability is on the way. So, okay, does it like a real impact or something going to change soon? But again, do you even have the warehouse potential to fulfill it, right? Looking as a CFO, now I want to say, how can I buy less from what is actually not selling? And I can drill down here later to specific product and SKUs to have a more detailed plan. But I can say, okay, how I can buy more, but buy only the right stuff, what to rebuy, what not to rebuy, based on customer needs, but also how I can keep less in the stores and more in the warehouse so I can react faster and I don't just have like lots of money stayed somewhere that no one buys. Okay, so again, inventory and operation, it's purely financial. Now just one more word about AI, okay, because it's not like the old world didn't know something. Okay, we are not like saying the AI invent a new logic. And maybe some people say it and they just throw lots of data in AI and say, hey, give me predictions. We are not doing that. We actually built on a logic that was developed in the past, 30 years, since Goldratt, through thousands of implementation to 1-bit and to what we currently do in the current state of 1-bit. And it's really not about the logic that changed. It's just the ability to implement it on big data. Okay, it's an operation way beyond human scale. So also the financial guys, the operational guys, it's not like before AI, they didn't know what to do and how to manage retail. They know how to do it and they have successful company, right? It's about the ability to actually utilize it for million SKUs in 100 different locations. The logic is a human logic and it's a good logic and we have nice logic we develop, but all of our clients have their logic and some it works in a way, right? But the ability to actually do it automatically across all the population and look on the context and look on the flow of the system, not chasing their tail, managing this specific SKU and this one, just letting the system do it for them and then they can put their mind into strategics and find the constraints as we saw to understand from the executive dashboard where maybe they have the issue and to drill down to their potential and the different reports and so on, or look on the speed of their operation and stuff that I didn't mention today. This is what AI brings. Just the ability to actually do the execution and focus on the strategic stuff instead of just chasing the execution and then the strategic is somewhere in the mix and you can never see the bigger picture. So both for financials, operations, business people, it's all the same idea.
Mariano,
Yo solamente sumar a lo que Abrumi dice que 100%, la facilidad de tener la información a la punta de los dedos en todo momento, tener la visibilidad, ver exactamente, no estar ocupado en la parte repetitiva, porque ahí es donde el AI me ayuda y trae toda esa experiencia de tantos años de Goldratt y tenerla todos los días automáticamente y poder despejarme justamente a esa estrategia y a analizar mi conocimiento y a mirar los distintos reportes. Hay muchísimo, muchísimo acá que no llegamos a cubrir. Yo creo que esta charla fue muy, muy interesante y nos ayudó a tocar la punta del iceberg en algunos temas y hay muchísimo más. Y bueno, que sea el comienzo de muchas más conversaciones.
Fantástico. Exacto. Bueno, muchas gracias. Thank you, Rumi, Mariano, Juliana, muchas gracias. Para todos ustedes, les va a llegar por correo. Si tienen alguna pregunta, nos pueden pues, mandarla por correo o a través de nuestras redes sociales. Todos nosotros tenemos nuestras cuentas de LinkedIn a la orden. Y como dijo Mariano, que sea la primera de muchas. Este es un espacio importante para los retailers en la región y estamos a la orden para que esto sea realmente enriquecedor para toda la región y para toda la industria. Bueno, muchas gracias. Gracias, Mariano, Juliana. Thank you, Brumi. Toda.
Thank you, guys.